Welcome back to Wake and Take. It's your boy Jason, and we've got some football to talk about today. Today, it's my favorite episode of the week. I was thinking about it this morning. It's really settled in. You know, we're here in the season. We're kind of in a groove here at Wake and Take. You guys know what to expect every single day we're on here. You know, Monday, we've got reactions. Tuesdays, we've got waivers. Today, on Wednesdays, we've got Market Watch. Thursdays, we'll preview the week, and Friday, we get a great guest episode. But Wednesdays, maybe the guest episode is pretty nice too. But I just love talking the market. Today, that's what we're doing. We're talking 8 buys to save your fantasy football team in both Dynasty and Redraft. It's going to be a good one. Go ahead and take out your coffee, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. And welcome in everyone here in the chat. We've got Ryan, Lucas, Trip, All City, the S-Box, MV Prof, Mark, Happy Hudson, and plenty others. And if you're listening, hey, on the podcast, thank you for listening as well, guys. Again, the Wake and Take podcast can be found via the link in the description. Now, we are doing things a little bit different today, as we do. You know, we are doing the market watch today, but I wanted to go ahead and let you know that today you're taking out your wallets. Today we're only doing buys. I was making this show sheet. I was going through, finding where I could, you know, find some sort of edges in the market right now. And every single time I was like, that's a good move to make. It was a buy. So we've got 8 buys for you today. It's going to be awesome. Get out your wallets. We're spending some money. And before we get into it, shout out Ryan for surviving Vegas this week in the chat. The awesome stuff. Congratulations on the survival. Hopefully you didn't spend too much money so that you can trade for some of these players today. Now, I also see a trade question. So since it came in before we got into it, I'll go ahead and answer it. But guys, go ahead and start asking your trade questions as well, because once we get through the market watch, we'll answer your trade questions. But Levi wants to know, would I rather have Marvin Harrison Jr., Jaden Reed, or Darnell Mooney rest of season? Crazy that, honestly, I saw this question at first and I was like, man, this is a silly question. But then, you know, you read it out loud and you really think about it. It's just funny. It's just funny that this is this is where we're at. Darnell Mooney on fire. Jaden Reed on fire. Marvin Harrison Jr., good. You know, kind of meeting expectations. Maybe not even meeting expectations, but close. You know, he's been pretty decent. However, I would still say I'd rather have Marvin Harrison Jr. rest of season. Yeah, you know, you could tell me that Jaden Reed or Darnell Mooney would outscore Marvin Harrison Jr. rest of season, but still, I would rather go with Marvin Harrison Jr. He still has the alpha potential, whereas these guys, well, Jaden Reed does right now, but still, I think I'm still just going. I think I'm just still going to go with where we were heading into the season with Marvin Harrison Jr. It's a tough one, but I mean, I think you've got to. I mean, the draft capital that was spent on him, the expectations that we have on this guy, you just got to keep rolling with Marvin Harrison Jr. But yeah, I mean, like, to your point, we see Ryan here was offered Chris Olave straight up for Jaden Reed and said no, and I don't blame you. I would rather have Jaden Reed over Chris Olave right now. But these are all 3 of those players. They're performing really well right now, and I understand why you asked that. But stay firm with Marvin Harrison Jr. Things will, you know, he'll still have, like, once we have that, well, we've had a 2-touchdown game, actually. You know, we'll have more. We'll have more. Marvin Harrison Jr. still having a good season. Going to be awesome. But yeah, I see the TD dependent worries for sure. But yeah, Mark makes a good point as well. While we're here on the market watch, Marvin Harrison Jr. will probably also get you more value in a trade in general. Like, you could probably get Jaden Reed plus. You could probably get, well, you could definitely get Darnell Mooney plus. But I like it. No, I think that was a fun question. That's why I wanted to go ahead and dive into it. And that's why it's just so important to do an episode like this, to dive into the market. Where are people at with certain players? And should I be buying them? Should I be selling them? You know, is there someone else that maybe I can get for cheaper that's going to perform about the same? This is so important. This is how you win your league. It's making these extra moves to stay on top, get the extra value, all that stuff. So we're going to start things off. We'll start things off with a news story. We've never done news on the market watch, but it's important here because Drake May will be making his first start this week against the Houston Texans. I will say I am worried. On yesterday's show, on the waiver wire episode, we've been talking about picking up Drake May for weeks now. But still, we talked about it yesterday before he was announced the starter and said, I don't know if he'll be the starter this week, but he definitely will next week because the Texans are a tough matchup. Then they get a softer matchup next week against after the Texans. I don't even remember who it was, but I remember at the time I was like, I would maybe wait one more week. But I don't mind pulling the plug on the Jacoby Brissett experience. And that's why we're buying Drake May in Dynasty, in Redraft. We're in on Drake May. If you listen to Wake and Take, you already know all offseason, people were saying that, or basically everyone this offseason was trying to figure out who would bust, right? Like, hey, there's so many first-round quarterbacks this year. Which one should I avoid? And the take here on Wake and Take was none of them. I said very firmly, and I still believe it, that we are having a very rare case of every quarterback getting the right landing spot for them. Now, unfortunately, J.J. McCarthy, had the whole MCL thing and missed this season, but we're seeing how awesome it could have been in Minnesota. We're seeing Bo Nix win 3 games in a row. We're seeing Jaden Daniels already, the Dynasty QB1. We've seen Caleb Williams have multiple 300-yard games. We're seeing the Falcons system start to come together, right? Everything is lining up. And my take for Drake May was I like him in New England because they need a superhero at quarterback. And that's what Drake May is. Now, he lacks a lot of the kind of fundamentals of being a quarterback. But where he makes up for that is, just his kind of quick draw mentality. He's got a lot of Josh Allen traits, Phillip Rivers type traits, where he's a gunslinger. But he also has really good size and speed combo to where he can run the ball as well. And like kind of a power run type thing. And we saw in the preseason that Drake May not only looked good, but outperformed Jacoby Brissett every single week. He was damn good, Drake May, in the preseason. 21-34, so a 61% completion percentage, not too shabby. 192 yards, a touchdown, no interceptions. He also had 7 carries for 32 yards and a rushing touchdown in his limited preseason action as well. So Drake May showed some promise in the preseason. And yeah, the offensive line is bad. The weapons aren't great. But he's the type of a quarterback to put the team on his back and just score fantasy points, get yards, get touchdowns, and they may not win games. In fact, Drake May's fantasy points may come in the fourth quarter, but they're going to come. And he's going to be the tide that rises all boats. I am not only buying Drake May, I am buying all New England Patriots, every single one. Obviously it's going to come down to how deep my league is, but Drake May, of course, that's the big one. I want to get him before it's too late because we talk about it a lot, especially this offseason. I said, hey, Caleb Williams, he's the Dynasty quarterback 8. I understand he's going to be good, but we're overvaluing him right now. But that didn't happen to Drake May. In fact, that was part of my calculus with selling Caleb Williams this offseason was you could get the other rookie quarterbacks with a really good cherry on top, and have a lot of the same, the youth, the upside, all that fun stuff, but get some extra assets. And so Drake May right now is only the Dynasty quarterback 16. And he hasn't really risen even after this news. He was like quarterback 17, quarterback 18 before this. So you're not really buying high. This is just taking a shot on a young, talented rookie quarterback, 3rd overall pick in the NFL draft. And I just think it's going to pan out. I really do. I'm buying Drake May. I'm buying Ramondre Stevenson. I'm buying Jalen Polk. I'm buying Demario Douglas. In my deeper leagues, I'm adding Tyquan Thornton because Drake May's got a cannon for an arm. And hey, maybe they'll start throwing the ball deep. Javon Baker. That's another interesting one. I will add, I think the 2 big wide receivers you really want are going to be Demario Douglas and Jalen Polk. But like I said, I'm taking my shots on Tyquan Thornton. I'll pick up Javon Baker. I think that everyone's going to get involved more. In fact, the only person that this might hurt is Hunter Henry. Because Hunter Henry was kind of a little bit of a safety net for Jacoby Brissett. And I know historically rookie quarterbacks kind of lock onto the tight end. I could see, in this scenario, more so just kind of going to Demario Douglas, who in training camp he had a really good connection with. Jalen Polk, who in rookie OTAs he had a really good connection with, right? Like those are the 2 I'm kind of expecting. But I still want them all because I could see this Patriots offense have some identity, right? Just have some identity, be productive, get down the field. And it might take a couple weeks, but I think it's worth waiting through those couple weeks because once they start to figure it out, I think it'll be awesome. I'm buying Drake May. And yeah, Fredo makes a good point. Even if the efficiency of pass attempts go up, Henry will still pan out. Yeah, I mean, and it's not like Hunter Henry is valuable at all. I mean, but I'm just saying, like, he's maybe the only one that I could think of maybe hurting, just because I don't know if he'll have the same amount of volume, but he'll probably have better volume, right? Like, he might get more touchdowns or something. I don't know. But either way, I am officially instructing all of you to buy high, quote around buy high on Drake May, because what do we see? When young players break out, their dynasty value grows like wildfire. If Drake May goes out there against the Texans, throws for 2 touchdowns, 250 yards, adds a rushing touchdown, even if he has a couple turnovers, he's going to go from like quarterback 16 to quarterback 12. And honestly, the window would probably shut. This is your chance. I guarantee every Drake May owner is like looking at this hype right now and saying, yeah, I might as well put him on the block and see what I could get. But Drake May, big buy for me right now. I'm in. I want him, especially in Dynasty, but in Redraft as well. Mostly Superflex, but even single quarterback, I recommend rostering him as well, just because the ceiling's so high. Like I said, he has a lot of the Josh Allen intangibles where he could just kind of put the team on his back and go crazy. So Drake May and the Patriots, ancillary pieces we are putting on our team. I picked up Demario Douglas in 3 leagues this morning. And I'm not stopping there. I want more. I want more Pats. I think that things are turning around there. I was already, feeling good about the Gerard Mayo hire. I feel good about the Drake May pick. I think things are coming together in New England. And honestly, as planned, I told you guys that Drake May was going to start a lot sooner than people were thinking. I didn't like that he was being faded in rookie drafts or anything like that. And so we're getting him. We are getting him now. We will be moving on to the next buy. And we'll just kind of keep with the same philosophy while we're there. We're just going to go through our rookies first. And we're going with Rome Odunze. Rome Odunze is another player we need to be buying because, again, as mentioned in the Drake May thing, once rookies or just young players in general start to break out, their value grows like wildfire. Brian Thomas Jr., now a top 8 dynasty wide receiver after last week's performance. He was like outside the top 20 last week. And it might not even stop there. Jaden Reed, now a wide receiver 12 after his performances the last couple weeks. But Rome Odunze, wide receiver 17. And what surprises me is we've seen an incredible week. In week 3, he had 11 targets, brought in 6 of them for 112 yards and a touchdown. But it's just had a quiet couple weeks since with the Keenan Allen return. But good news is Caleb Williams has now thrown for 300 yards in back-to-back games. Or not back-to-back games, in two games this season. And the Bears offense in general is starting to show some life. Rome Odunze, to me, as has been the take all offseason, will be a huge part of this offense and will grow into being the alpha ahead of DJ Moore throughout his career. So I damn sure want Rome Odunze in Dynasty, but I think it's worth taking a shot on him as well, as I think a second half of the season breakout is well within the cards here. We're talking about a player with his best comparable as Justin Jefferson, 6'3", 212, 4'4", 40-yard dash. Incredible college season last year at Washington, a big part. They even made the national championship. Already has a 20-point game this season, is getting targeted. I mean, a 5 of 6 game for 40 yards last week. If he can continue around that, throw some touchdowns here or there, maybe more yak here and there, we're talking about a really, really good wide receiver. And he's just so acquirable right now. He's the redraft wide receiver 58, the Dynasty wide receiver 17. And this was a top 10 draft pick this year. One of the better wide receiver prospects we've ever seen. And we're not as excited about him as we should be. In fact, his value has only gone down throughout the year. So I'm buying him. Again, mentioned he was the wide receiver 58 so far in redraft. He's wide receiver 61 in points per game. But he is wide receiver 33 in expected points per game. He has an expected points per game of 14.2. A lot of that coming, or the reason he's not reaching that, because, the Bears were just kind of piss poor the first few weeks of the season. But it'll get there at some point. Rome Odunze, pay the piper. I don't care if you have to overpay. This is like the door to get Rome Odunze will close at some point this season, and it'll close very hard, very fast. Get him on your team before it's too late. Yes, I understand that it's hard to get rookies, as Tripp is saying in the chat. And that's why I'm saying pay up. Even get him in redraft. Like, I want Rome Odunze. I think there's a lot of potential this year, but of course throughout his career as well, to be the alpha attached to Caleb Williams throughout their career. This is just a player that you can't get often, so get him. Whatever it costs. Rome Odunze, a huge, huge buy right now. And so are all the non-Brock Bowers rookie tight ends. Maybe not all. There's 3. I've got 3 rookie tight ends that I just wanted to lump together under the same philosophy as we're watching rookie values go like crazy. And we could talk a little Trey McBride, a little Tucker Kraft. Like in year one, maybe they don't do a lot, but then in year two, we're starting to see a lot of tight ends start to break out and look awesome. Tucker Kraft is now a top 8 dynasty tight end. Trey McBride rose all the way to a top 3 dynasty tight end after his breakout last season. And so when you see Ben Sinnott at tight end 18, Jatavian Sanders at tight end 25, and Theo Johnson at tight end 28, I think you've got to go ahead and scoop these guys while you can. Because right now we are in the middle of the season, so people aren't really too much looking forward to next year yet. Like this is when people are really starting to put together the pieces to finish their run for this season. And so they're actually looking to move on from Ben Sinnott, Jatavian Sanders, Theo Johnson. But these are 3 tight ends that are awesome. Just awesome. They check the boxes. These were the tight ends that I was recommend getting in our rookie drafts. Ben Sinnott, 6'4", 250 pounds, runs a 4.6, basketball player turned tight end, awesome agility drills, was top 3 in the 3-cone, in the shuttle, awesome player, second-round draft capital, on the ascending Commanders offense, hasn't had a target yet, but once something happens to Zach Ertz, Ben Sinnott will be a stud. Jatavian Sanders, 6'4", 240 pounds, runs that 4.6 40, has a best comparable to Luke Musgrave, which is just fine. Got the 4th-round draft capital, 21 years old, went to Texas. Good athleticism, not great athleticism, but good athleticism. Getting some targets here, and we're watching the Panthers kind of start to get a little bit better, just coming off a 5-target game. This is a player that I think going forward, maybe more so next year, but there's no other tight ends here in Carolina, and they're not going to draft one to go ahead of him. Like, he's going to be the Panthers tight end. And if you believe in Bryce Young or if you believe in Andy Dalton, at some point, Jatavian Sanders is going to be a really good part of this passing offense, get some passing touchdown stuff like that. So I want to get him before it's too late. And Theo Johnson, 6'6", 260 pounds, runs a 4.5 40-yard dash, incredible athleticism, crushed it at the Senior Bowl, one of the faster tight ends at the Senior Bowl despite his massive size. And it's just coming off a 5.5 game for 48 yards. Had another 4-target game earlier this season. He has a decent amount of red zone targets as well. They are utilizing him a lot in New York already, and that's awesome. He beat out Daniel Bellinger as a rookie. That's awesome news. Yeah, the production isn't great, but he was a really big waiver wire ad, and I would say if you missed him on the waiver wire, I would try to trade for him as well, especially in Dynasty. I want these tight ends. I think next year they'll start to break out, and I just want to go ahead and get him on my roster, throw him on the bench for next year, because I think that all of these guys have really good athleticism and really good landing spots for their career potential. So I want to get Ben Sinnott, Jatavian Sanders, and Theo Johnson before it's too late. So those are kind of the rookie buys that I wanted to mention. Now let's talk some players that, aren't rookies, but doing really good. But before we get into it, I just want to tell you guys a little bit about the Player Profiler player rankings.
Hey, this will just take a second. I want to talk about our player rankings, the weekly rankings, the weekly projections. Billy, Theo, and our analytics geniuses getting your start, sit decisions dialed in that flex tab. And then you get the season rankings. Want to make add drop decisions? The season rankings are updated every week all year. And you have the best dynasty rankings ever as part of the player rankings package. And don't forget the offensive line rankings. Dan Fornick, one of the best in the business. New running back starting this week. Hey, is that offensive line top 10? Yeah, okay, start them. And we rank the cornerbacks out to like CB100 with the corresponding receiver they're going to be matched up with most this coming week. The player rankings are the thing you need during the season on PlayerProfiler.com. Check it out.
The rankings are just incredible. Shout out Evan Ringler for putting that together along with Matt, Theo, and all the other data team. It's just an incredible process. The Player Profiler rankings are the best in the biz, so I highly recommend getting those along with the whole all-in package. Now, guys, can somebody answer me why DeAndre Hopkins is outside the top 70 as a dynasty wide receiver, as a redraft wide receiver? Dynasty wide receiver 78 on Keep Trade Cut. Redraft wide receiver 75 so far. DeAndre Hopkins might be the biggest buy right now. If I'm being honest with you, at that price, you're telling me that I could get DeAndre Hopkins for Alan Lazard, Troy Franklin, Tyler Lockett, Jermaine Burton, Rashad Bateman, Josh Palmer, Jalen Naylor, Tutu Atwell. I mean, it's just insane to me. It's just insane to me. And now I understand that sometimes when you look at what the value is, those aren't actually trades that you can pull off, and I understand the name equity comes into there. But the fact that those are the players within his range is asinine to me. And so I would 100% be looking to see what your DeAndre Hopkins owner in your league is looking for, because this is a player that should not be valued. I mean, like, to me, DeAndre Hopkins is in the Mike Evans, Cooper Kupp, Devontae Adams realm. He's that good. He's one of the best wide receivers we've seen in NFL history. He's probably going to make the Hall of Fame, more than likely. And you're telling me that I could get him for Allen Lazard? What are we doing? Seriously, what are we doing? And this season, he just started off slow because he picked up that, it was like a knee or a groin injury. So he, the first 2 weeks of the season, in fact, he hasn't even had above a 50% snap share yet this season. They've been working him in, but the Titans are coming off a bye week now. He's probably fully healthy. And we've seen the games. Even on a 46% snap share against the Green Bay Packers, he got 7 targets, 6 receptions for 73 yards and a touchdown, 19.3 points in fantasy. DeAndre Hopkins had 1,057 receiving yards and 7 touchdowns last year on this Titans team. A worse Titans offense. And I understand that Calvin Ridley's been here, but he's not as good as DeAndre Hopkins. And DeAndre Hopkins already has the connection with Will Levis and Mason Rudolph. If he does ever come in, would love DeAndre Hopkins. So you're talking about being able to buy a player who had 19 points off of a 46% snap share in week 3. A player who's probably making the Hall of Fame. A player who already had 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns last year on the same team. In fact, a team that's gotten better. So DeAndre Hopkins to me is a screaming buy at his current value. I am shocked he's as cheap as he is. And I would be doing whatever it takes to get him. I wouldn't be surprised looking at this value right now. It sounds like he's been dropped in shallow leagues. And that's ridiculous to me. This is DeAndre fucking Hopkins, and you can get him for Allen Lazard? I just can't believe it. I really can't believe it. DeAndre Hopkins to me is a huge buy right now in Dynasty, in Redraft. Get him on your team while you still can. I think he's going to have an awesome second half of the season. And we've got 2 that are kind of lumped together, but I'll go one by one. We'll start with Breece Hall. Breece Hall right now is the Dynasty RB3, but the Redraft RB13. And it's still going to be tough to buy Breece Hall in Dynasty, so this is honestly going to end up being more of a Redraft take, but people are panicking way too much. Way too much. Breece Hall, the first 3 weeks of the season, 18, 24, 18 points. But the last 2 weeks has had a rough go. 3.8 against the Broncos, 6.7 against the Vikings. But those are 2 tough defenses. And the Jets in those 2 games just weren't playing well. Even Braylon Allen didn't play that well. But people are panicking about Breece Hall just because of the Braylon Allen resurgence, on top of the whole Aaron Rodgers thing. But rest assured, Breece Hall is still one of the best running backs in the league with insane athleticism. We're talking about a 5'11", 217-pound running back that runs a 4.39. A running back that has been awesome even so far this season. He's 8th in snap share. He's 9th in receiving yards. He's 3rd in target share. He's 12th in touchdowns. He has the 2nd most receptions. He's 2nd in expected fantasy points per game. And it's just being productive. I mean, like, he's out there doing it. And yeah, it's been a bad, rough couple weeks. But because of that, he becomes a buy. I've seen him hit the block in a lot of places. I'm seeing a lot of panic across the fantasy community for Breece Hall. I'm looking to see what that price tag is. If he's hit the trade block in your league, I am getting him really at whatever cost. Like a Devon Achane, if I could use him to get into Breece Hall, I'm doing it. There's a lot of different scenarios where I'm trying to get Breece Hall right now. Can't believe that he has taken this much of a public perception hit. He's going to be fine. It's Breece Lightning. Get him on your team. And in the same scenario, why are we freaking out about Bijan Robinson? For Breece Hall, he's had 2 games now under 8 points. Bijan Robinson hasn't even had a game under 10 points yet, and he's getting usage, right? 16, 16, 13, 11, 10. Sure, it hasn't been the greatest. Dynasty RB2, Redraft RB18. But it's only been 5 weeks. There's still so much left of the season, and he's getting the usage you want. He's 4th in snap share right now. He's 5th in receptions. He's doing well in carries. I don't know why people are freaking out. I really don't. This Falcons offense is finally showing some signs of life, and I know Tyler Algier is getting some usage, but Bijan's 7th in yards created per catch, 5th in yards created total, 9th in evaded tackles. He's doing the damn thing. He's playing well. Yes, we haven't had a 30-pointer yet. We haven't even had a 20-pointer yet. But it's ridiculous to say that won't happen, right? Like, it's going to happen. Bijan Robinson's going to be Bijan Robinson. he's still going to finish as probably a top 5 running back. And yeah, last week, his worst week, 10.7 points. Oh God, only 10 points. Only 10 points. He was playing through a hamstring injury. Like, guys, like, calm down. It's fine. It's Bijan Robinson. Bye. Bijan Robinson. Bye. Breece Hall. I can't believe I even have to say this. Can't believe I even have to say it. And same thing about Rachaad White. Rachaad White has officially been passed by Bucky Irving. And it's ridiculous. Put it in the chat, guys. Who has more fantasy points this season, Rachaad White or Bucky Irving in PPR leagues? The answer is Rachaad White. We have like acting like right now that Bucky Irving has like murdered Rachaad White. And it hasn't even happened. Rachaad White has a higher snap share. Rachaad White has more fantasy points. Rachaad White has more everything. And I understand that Bucky Irving is getting an annoying amount of usage. But Rachaad White right now has fallen to Dynasty RB33 and is the RB32 in redraft right now. He's officially been passed by Jalen Wright, Aaron Jones, Zach Charbonnet in Dynasty, and none of those running backs should have passed Rachaad White. None of them. None of them. He has back-to-back weeks now with over 10 touches. That's fine. That's totally fine. 7th in receptions, 3rd in routes run, getting the 12.5% target share, which is awesome. He's 5th in yards created per touch. Yes, Bucky Irving is getting some carries, but Rachaad White's still getting catches. He has back-to-back weeks now with 9 or 10 points. He's fine. He's still good. I've never even been like a big Rachaad White guy. Like, he's fine. Like, I had him last year. I liked the value a lot last year, but I've always just felt he was good. We talked about it. We were selling him in Dynasty heading into the season. I didn't think he was a top 10 Dynasty running back, but I also don't think he's a Dynasty RB 33. What are we doing? 34 now. I just checked. It got updated on Keep Trade Cut. 34 now. He went down. And it's like he's out touching Bucky Irving. He has more fantasy points than Bucky Irving, but Bucky Irving's the Dynasty RB20. So something's just wrong. Something's amiss. Get Rachaad White while you still can. Next week, don't be surprised within the next few weeks, really, if he has a 20-pointer. You know, we've seen the 2-6 target games, 2 games with 5 receptions so far this season. It's coming for Rachaad White. He's been playing through a groin injury. Things are going to be fine. He's going to get healthier. The games are going to get more competitive. And guess what? Bucky Irving is under 6 feet tall, under 200 pounds, and that is dangerous at the running back position. So Rachaad White is still a stud, a half stud, a demi stud, if you will, but still awesome. And we are way too overreacting about how Bucky Irving is doing right now. Because again, Rachaad White has more fantasy points. I don't get it. I don't understand it. So that's that. That's that. In fact, was that it? Was that all my buys? Sorry, Rachaad White. Rookie tight ends. No, I have one more. I have one more buy for you guys today. And this one is Dynasty, but also redraft. I saw him dropped in a league. Single quarterback, mind you, so that's fine. But I saw Anthony Richardson dropped in a league. I picked him up, of course. And he's now the Dynasty QB 14 on Keep Trade Cut. That is right. Anthony Richardson is behind Dak Prescott and right next to Baker Mayfield now on Keep Trade Cut. Insane. So if you have Baker Mayfield, figure out what it takes to trade him for Anthony Richardson in Dynasty. And yes, Harry Snowman, that was directed at you/me. Harry Snowman and I have a Dynasty team together with Baker Mayfield. We've been figuring out who to trade him for. Now it's looking like we can finally get Anthony Richardson, which is someone we've been trying to get. I don't know. Maybe our opinion has changed given he hasn't looked great this season, but that's an interesting package for me. Baker Mayfield to Anthony Richardson, literally right next to each other. Dak Prescott for Anthony Richardson. It's just insane to me. Anthony Richardson is still a stud, and I'm actually kind of happy he didn't play last week. I think that's what hurt his value was he didn't play last week because he was like QB 11 last week when I checked. So he fell some more after not playing, and Joe Flacco looked awesome, and maybe that's why. But they sat him because they want him to get healthy again, and that's, you know, a good thing. I was really worried that they would try to throw him out there less than 100%, and we were just going to fall into a cycle of Anthony Richardson playing through injury, but they're letting him heal up, which I think is good news. So I'm buying Anthony Richardson right now. I don't think we'll ever see him as a QB 14 again. This is just so far. He's outside of the top 12 now. Again, next to Baker Mayfield, next to Dak Prescott, behind Justin Herbert, barely ahead of Jared Goff and Trevor Lawrence right now. Like, I don't know, guys. This was a player that we had in the top 6 of Dynasty quarterback rankings, a player who's still 5th in fantasy points per dropback, who's still top 10 in every quarterback rushing metric, who still has a 27-point game this year. And yes, has looked awful in the passing game, but that really doesn't matter when it comes to fantasy points. And he's still keeping the games kind of close. He's still, putting the team on the back. It's Anthony Richardson. Buy him while you still can. If he was dropped in your single quarterback redraft leagues, pick him back up. He's got to be fine. Anthony Richardson's a stud. He's incredible. They just need to work on his passing game. But still, the fact that you could get him for like a Baker Mayfield right now is kind of crazy to me. So I'm buying A-Rich. And those are all the buys from today. Breece Hall, DeAndre Hopkins, A-Rich, Rome Odunze, Drake May, and the Patriots. Rachaad White, Bijan Robinson, and the rookie tight ends named Ben Sinnott, Jatavian Sanders, and Theo Johnson, the kind of second tier of rookie tight ends, I think are all worth buying in Dynasty as well. That was the Market Watch. Everyone, I saw a bunch of questions come in through the chat, so I'm going to go ahead and bounce through that. I'm going to scroll to the top, and then we will get you guys out of here after I answer some awesome questions for you guys. Let's see. You dropped Juwan Jennings for Juju. I love it. You traded for Rashee Rice. You gave a 2025 third, a 2026 second, and a 2027 third. Incredible trade. Uncle Ted is buying Bo Nix. I am too. I like that. Would I rather have Mike Williams or Juju? Give me Juju. Would I drop Justin Fields for Drake May? I wouldn't drop Justin Fields, I don't think. But, I mean, I do want to pick up Drake May. I would see who else you could drop maybe. But it sounds like it's single QB. So you could maybe take a little bit more of a wait-and-see approach when it comes to Drake May. What players do you think I could reasonably get in a trade involving Jerome Ford? If you're looking to trade Jerome Ford, I would honestly be looking more for a pick. See if you could get a second and go from there, maybe a couple thirds. Or just another, see what, Kamani Vidal plus, I think could be an interesting move. A Jalen Wright, maybe, well, probably not anymore. Maybe a Blake Corum, any of the kind of backup rookie running backs, like Kendre Miller, something like that. Someone with some juice. Is Vidal worth stashing? Yes. Love Vidal. Someone in my league just dropped Eckler and ETN. Jeez, get them. Let's see. Keep on going. Would you drop Tyrone Tracy for Tolbert? No. I think that Tyrone Tracy is going to have a role even when Devin Singletary returns. I'm being offered Brian Thomas, Brian Robinson, Pat Freiermuth for Tony Pollard and Travis Kelce. Yay by far. I would break my finger accepting that trade. Would you send Jamar Chase for Saquon or Jamar Chase for DK Metcalf and Breece Hall? I wouldn't do either of those. Even though it's redraft, I still want to hold on to Jamar Chase. I think things are trending up for him. You traded away Brian Thomas for Josh Downs, Kareem Hunt, and Rome Odunze. I think that is a kind of bad-ish trade right now, but in the long run, I think it's awesome. In the long run, I think that's incredible. I have Odunze over Brian Thomas personally, at least in terms of my career perception. So I think over time that's going to work out for you. I think you maybe could have squeezed a little bit more juice from that, but Kareem Hunt's looking like a little bit of a starter going forward, and Josh Downs is pretty good too. I just think it might I would have tried to get a little bit more, but I think that this is still a really good trade for you. Getting Rome Odunze is awesome. Cool. Keep on going through. Is Rachaad White a quasi stud or a pseudo stud? Probably a pseudo stud, an alpha beta, but in the running back room. Let's see. You would get Justin Jefferson for Debo and Patrick Mahomes. I don't know if they would accept that. It sounds like this is a single QB league based on how stacked your QB room is, or you've just got a super stacked QB room. If this is super flex, I think that you could definitely pull it off. In single quarterback, probably not. Nico Collins went to IR. Shit. Okay. Get Tank Dell. We talked about buying Tank Dell last week, by the way. Last week, Tank Dell on this show was a buy prior to the Nico Collins injury. So hopefully you guys see it. Now, I didn't say that Nico Collins would get hurt. No one said that. I just felt that Nico Collins it was time to buy Nico Collins last week. That sucks. That's a bad one. That's annoying. Oh, by the way, I like this. The owner said he'd run Kamara's lookout. I agree. I am trying to sell Alvin Kamara right now. In fact, I probably should have. So, hey, bonus sell. Sell Alvin Kamara in Dynasty and Redraft. Would I drop Whittington for Juju? I don't think so. I'd try to find someone else. Cool. You traded Nick Chubb for T. Higgins in a 4th. Nice. Would you rather have Jalen Polk or Tyrone Tracy? If you need wide receiver, Polk. If you need running back, Tracy. Someone offered me Achane and Hunt for James Cook. Do I go for it? If it's Dynasty, yes. If it's Redraft, no. Would you trade McBride for James Cook in a PPR league? Other tight end is Kraft? No. James Cook to me is kind of a sell. I still think that Ray Davis and Ty Johnson, their usage is going to go up and up. I don't know. I think that he's at the top of his market. I don't think he's bad. We talked about selling James Cook, I think like 2-3 weeks ago now. I just think that this is the top. He doesn't have the build to go into the top 5. He's still a tweener under 200 pounds. So that's always going to hurt his dynasty value. He's right now like the dynasty RB8, RB7, maybe even higher now, to be honest. And that to me, I'm calling the top there. I wouldn't be trying to buy Cook right now. If you could trade Jordan Mason for Breece Hall, do it. Do it. Oh my God. And then what are my thoughts on David Njoku's value? This is another player I saw dropped. Now, granted, it was a guillotine league, so it might have been the team that lost that dropped David Njoku, but no one put in a claim for him. I was able to pick him up this morning. I don't think that's right. I think that he definitely should be rostered, especially when Jameis Winston comes in. David Njoku is going to be a stud. Guys, that was everything. All the questions, all the buys. Thank you so much for tuning in. The Market Watch is my favorite. I love talking fantasy football trades so much. So, guys, you have a wonderful Wednesday. Good luck as you get prepped for week 6. You all have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you tomorrow for a little bit of a week 6 preview. Have a great day. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe. Peace.
From the Podfather to you, I deeply appreciate you tuning in. And many ask, what can I do? What can I do to help support the hosts, the research they do, the production? From the Podfather to you, I deeply appreciate you tuning in. And many ask, what can I do? What can I do to help support the hosts, the research they do, the production costs? Go to PlayerProfiler.com, Dynasty Deluxe, World Famous Draft Kit, Rankings, DFS Dominator, and of course, Data Analysis. Subscribe to any one of those, and you support all of us and take Player Profiler to the moon.